Everyone understands why Donald has suggested what he has. We're looking at a president who's engaged in this doublespeak, where he doesn't call radical Islamic terrorism by its name. Indeed, he gives a speech after the San Bernardino attack where his approach is to try to go after the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens rather than to keep us safe. And even worse, President Obama and Hillary Clinton are proposing bringing tens of thousands of Syrian refugees to this country when the head of the FBI has told Congress they cannot vet those refugees.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining us now to discuss really the budget deal, which has a great effect on Obama's immigration agenda and other agendas, is former congressman from the great state of Colorado, former presidential candidate Tom Tancredo, and also he's the author of In Mortal Danger, The Battle for America's Border and Security, and Brad Hirschfield, author of You Don't Have to Be Wrong for Me to Be Right, president of CLAL and thewisdomdaily.com. All right, Congressman, I got to tell you, and I talked about this at the top of the show, whether it's Planned Parenthood fully funded, whether it's Obama's climate garbage fully funded, whether it's quadrupling the number of foreign workers that are going to come in and take the jobs away from Americans, whether it's Syrian refugees fully funded and unhindered from coming into this country, you go right down the list. And what Paul Ryan has negotiated is a sham, it's a scam, it's a disgrace, and it's why Donald Trump is where he is.
Couldn't say it better. The fact is that you assume, and most people would assume, and certainly Republicans would assume, that if you have a Republican Congress and a very liberal Democrat president, there would be some point of conflict in especially the budget deal, right? That would be an assumption, maybe a wild one, but it would be an assumption that I think would be logical. Of course, in this case, there was no point of contention, except to perhaps who's going to spend more, because indeed the Republican budget, the Ryan budget, spends more on the refugee issue than even the president requested, about $360 million more. So there was no point of contention. And what happened to the Freedom Caucus? Remember that group of people that promised us that they were going to, that they did in fact meet with Paul Ryan and got all these concessions from him? Where are the concessions? And you know, on process only, but not on policy? It's ridiculous. And it goes to show you exactly what you said. It's why there are so many Republicans, so many people, independents also, who are simply fed up with this bunch in Congress and with the Republican establishment and the Republican Party.
Brad, I got to tell you, I mean, you may like what's in the bill as from your political persuasion, but you know what? This is disgraceful, and this is going to solidify the Donald Trump movement.
Well, you may be right about that, but you always try and box me into a certain politics. Ironically, I think the two of you sound like a lot like Nancy Pelosi right now, because it turns out the far left and the far right are both puritanical. What happened here was a decision that however bad this deal may be, it is better than a government shutdown. Ironically...
Why?
Well, that's the interesting theory. Now, if you want to see shutdown, that's great. It turns out the far left, the far right have Puritan watchdogs that would prefer to go that way. The funny thing is, that is exactly one of the reasons Donald Trump is popular, and this is exactly the kind of budget, whether people like it or not, that he is likely to be in favor of. In fact, it gave Republicans much of what they wanted in terms of tax credits, opening up foreign oil markets, and a whole variety of things, and didn't give conservatives, again, maybe appropriately so, what conservatives were seeking on a whole range of social issues. Well, it turns out the leading candidate for the Republican nomination of the president actually advocates things that line up very much that way. The one thing that I think Congressman Tancredo and I will agree upon is the absence of spending discipline that is inherent in both parties is genuinely problematic. And that doesn't matter what you want to spend it on. When you're spending dollars you got a problem, regardless of what you spend them on.
Congressman, here's the deal. You know, you talk about a government shutdown. You have a president who has said right from the beginning he would not compromise, doesn't compromise, has never compromised. And when the government was shut down prior to the last landslide, a year prior to the last landslide in 2014, so it was 2013, We won a historic landslide. So I'm so sick of these Republicans who shudder at the word shutdown when it didn't affect us at all last time. It benefited us.
Yeah, when the minute that the Republican Party in the Congress took two things off the table, absolutely nowhere, we're not going to go anywhere near government shutdown or impeachment. The minute that was established as ground zero for them, there's nothing left. There is no, you cannot have any real conflict because, of course, everything that a conservative Congress would do, the president could threaten to veto and therefore bring the government to a halt. And so if you are going to say off the top that that's not a consideration, that's never going to be there, forget about it. Why do you even go in? What have you got to bargain with? You are going to give him everything he wants, in this case, even more. Tell you what, there will be, and I hope, and I think perhaps my colleague here would agree with me on this one too, that a lot more independents actually end up running for Congress, for seats in Congress. And I know that
interesting. Let Brad respond. Let Brad respond. We got only 20 seconds.
Quick response is like this. If the only thing conservatives have to offer is the threat of shutdown and impeachment, then there's something wrong with the cause. It seems to me what conservatives offer. Steve, you asked me to talk. I'm going to respond. There's an embrace of conflict here for its own sake that is misguided and betrays public trust.
We don't want to fund climate change. We don't want to fund Planned Parenthood and killing babies.
I would really suggest conservatives.
All right, got to go. We're coming back with Webb Hubble. Thank you, guys.